your home becomes a battleground.
Right.
It really does, because every little thing that you ask the child to do is often a battle.
Yes.
So from, hey, can you pick up your socks and put them in the hamper?
Yeah.
Tantrum.
Yeah.
Hey, it's time to brush your teeth. Tantrum. All right, let's take a shower. Tantrum, right? So just simple daily living things that you would ask someone to do.
Sure.
Become
mountains.
They become mountains.
Hi there. Thank you for joining me again today. This is a very special episode, and I have a special guest with me today. My name is Cindy Pratt, and I'm the owner of MaidPro League City, Pearland, and we are a residential home cleaning service that primarily services Galveston County and Brazoria County, all the way from Kemah to Manville, Roche Aaron. So if you're in the need for some helping hand, please reach out to us at www.maidpro.com, or you can call us at 281-557-6430. So first I wanted to give a great welcome here to Miss Amanda Boyd, the Executive Director of the Sanctuary
Thank you.
Foster Care Services, and they are located here in Clear Lake. And
we have a second office actually in Sugar Land as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So, two offices that help the Galveston County and the Brazoria County families that are in need of foster care support, whatever that means. And we're going to get into that in a little bit. But today's motivation is primarily to make sure that we get this word out in anticipation of Giving Tuesday, which in America is always the Tuesday after Thanksgiving. And
Yes.
so if you're not familiar with it, I encourage you to Google it, and then also look for your charity of choice. And this one is mine. As often as we can, we like to support the children and families in our communities. And that's a big part of what is Amanda's, I guess you could say, mission. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a mission for
Yeah,
sure.
great. And this has a personal connection as well. And I was telling Amanda, both of us have been touched by people in our lives who have either fostered or do foster families and children in our communities. So one of my long-term employees who had been with me for more than 6 years was a foster parent. And in her memory, we are trying to encourage other families to support those in need in our communities. So thank you so much for being here today. It's a great pleasure to speak with you. Yeah, super. So I just thought I would ask you real quick, to tell me a little bit about your story for those who may not be familiar with the Sanctuary, what your mission is.
Sure. So the Sanctuary actually started as a grassroots organization, located, like you said, here in the Clear Lake area, but then also we've expanded into Sugar Land. And the reason why that it started is because we looked at the current CPS system and we saw there were issues, right?
Yeah.
If you ask pretty much anybody, what would you say about the CPS system? And probably one of the first things they would say is that it's broken.
Yeah, for sure.
And I had, firsthand knowledge of that myself, because my husband and I were the adoptive parents of 6 children from foster care. So we have 8 kids total, but just the experience that we had in the fostering process is we figured out pretty quick that it was very broken. And then not only that, but that the children that enter foster care, a lot of times they get chewed up by the system. And then they end up sometimes in a worse shape than what they were before they even came in to foster care. And so when we looked at the broken system, and I thought, okay, something has to be done. This has been a broken system for a long time. So where are the issues? Where does it need to be fixed? And when we looked at it, we saw that there were a bunch of kids that were aging out of the foster care system when they turned 18, and they were aging out without a support system. And I was like, why is this happening? Why do we have these kids aging out of the system? And then not only that, but when I did more research, what I found is those kids that age out, they end up being the sex trafficked population.
Oh my gosh.
The addicted population.
Yeah.
The homeless population and the prison population. There's a direct pipeline from foster care into all of the societal issues out there and the woes that we're trying to be reactionary on the back end to try to, reclaim the lives of people. But man, if we could have prevented it from the front side and done foster care the way it needed to be, we wouldn't even be in this position. And so we looked at the system and we saw, okay, kids are aging out of care. Why are kids aging out of care? And it was because we found out that they weren't being stabilized in placements. And they were moving from home to home to home.
Oh my gosh.
Because when we looked at the kids that were aging out, several of them had been in 20, 25. This week alone, there was a girl that was 17, 44 different placements. Just imagine that for a second.
No, I cannot.
Can you imagine? And so what we saw is that these kids, they get to the place after being moved multiple times that they're like, I'm not going to attach to anybody.
Shutting off, yes.
Right. They completely shut off their emotions, and they're not going to give you a shot. They're not going to trust you because they're afraid at the end of the day, you're going to reject them too, and you're going to hurt them.
Yeah.
And so then we looked at, okay, why are kids moving from home to home to home? And what we found is that even good foster parents that were doing it for the right reasons, because of a lot of times the behaviors that the children bring into the home, they didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
They didn't have the support that they needed to be able to keep those kids in placement so that they could heal.
Yeah.
And so then we looked at, okay, so foster parents aren't receiving the support that they need. Well, that's where we need to focus.
Absolutely.
Because if we can focus on those foster parents and make sure that they get what they need and support them well, then man, that the whole pipeline goes away.
Yes.
Because then kids, they stay in placements.
Yep.
They get better.
Yep.
And then they find permanency.
Exactly.
And that has made all the difference in the world. And it's been incredible to watch just the lives of children be changed.
I heard, and since you started, now correct me if I'm wrong, that there were 80 families that you've helped support and sponsor for all of these different ancillary, I guess you could say, needs that a family adopting someone who's had trauma at a young age heal. Is that correct?
There's been way more than that.
Oh,
so
really?
we have actually served, just as far as children, we've served over 410 children in the time that we've been open.
And that was
foster children.
2019?
No, it was actually 2020. So we opened our doors in COVID. Everybody was shutting theirs, and we decided, hey, let's go ahead and start a foster care agency.
Yeah.
So
400 families, children specifically.
410 children. And so all of the families that have cared for them over the years.
That's amazing. And hopefully you've ended this pipeline in some way for those kids specifically.
I mean, I think we have. We've had 82 adoptions so far.
Oh, that's right.
In the number of years that we've been open, which is, it'll be 5 in April that will have been open. So, and then we've watched, family reunification too with biological family.
Sure.
Because if they can go back to their biological family and be safe, I mean, that's the best place for them. Or if they can go with a relative and be safe, man, because then they continue to have that connection and everything as well.
That's right.
So
they do. And they end up, I hope, turning their lives around and healing.
Absolutely. Because it's so cyclic, right? Because if they don't get the healing that they need, then they grow up and then they have children, and then those children come in the system, right? And so, when you have that type of a cycle, that's why all of the prisons are continuing to fill up.
Absolutely.
And all of these things is because we're not being successful at ending that cycle.
That's right. And I'm really excited to say that this is a great process to begin with, right? Fixing. You can't always affect adults or, help them down the right path, but you can prevent future children from becoming those same paths. So tell me a little bit more about the types of services that that these families and children need.
Sure. So one of the things that we found is that therapy services is needed for the entire foster family, because when you have a child that has trauma and they enter your home, if you have any personal trauma yourself, it gets reactivated. Mm-hmm. If you have any cracks, and I'm not talking about chasms, I'm talking about small tiny cracks in your marriage, when you are in that situation with a child that has a lot of trauma, those cracks widen and they become chasms. And so, so we do individual therapy for foster families. We do couples therapy. We do family therapy. We see any biological children that are in the home that are having a hard time adjusting to having, a foster child in their home. So that's one of the services that we provide. Then we also provide in-person crisis intervention. So we only license homes that are in a 30-minute radius from our office.
Oh, okay.
So that if a family is having a child that is having a major tantrum or a meltdown or running away or any of those kinds of things, we can get to that home. We have a therapist that responds to that home and helps to de-escalate that child and help the family work through that issue.
Yeah.
And so that has been huge. And then we do what's called in-home support. And that's where we actually proactively go into the homes and work with the family unit to help them connect, to help understand what the issues might be, whether it's bedtime or whatever it is, to help these families get to the place where they're stable and then those kids stay in placement. And so those are the therapeutic services that we offer that make just such a huge difference in the lives of the family and the stability of the kids.
So is there an initial assessment that's done of the child and the family, or is it just in response to specific crisis that have come up? And do the families just pick up the phone and call you like, hey, this is what's going on. I'm at McDonald's and, my child is having a complete fit in the drive-through. What should I do?
Yes, so both and. Okay. So depending on the history of the child that we get coming in, so a lot of times children they're called emergency placements that are removed directly from their biological families. We don't have a lot of information on them.
I gotcha.
We don't know about their behaviors, all of those kinds of things, and then that develops over time. But children that have been in other placements that got what is called discharge from another placement, which means the other family said, I can't do this anymore, this is too hard. We get information about those children, so we know kind of what we're dealing with, and we can set up that family for success and then set up services in advance for that child to make sure that family is supported from the beginning of the placement.
So what would you say is the biggest challenge that a foster family goes through during the initial stages of the transition?
Goodness, there's a lot,
Are there?
And it really is. It's an emotional roller coaster is the best way to put it.
Okay.
So when you first get the children in your home, in that first 30 days, you have so many doctor's appointments, psychological, family visits. You have so many things that you're trying to get set up and appointments that you have to take the children to that, if you've got work, trying to figure out how to take off work, how to manage that, how to even just run your everyday normal life with your family.
Right.
So we come in as an agency and we provide a meal train for the family for 2 weeks of that placement, so they don't have to worry about what they're going to eat. Often the kids come with no clothing or anything at all to help support them. And so we have an entire volunteer team that goes to area foster closets and gets clothing for them. Maybe we'll get a car seat if they need it, or a high chair, or whatever it is that they need to help with that placement.
Yeah.
So that's the first 30 days. And then when the behaviors kick in.
Gotcha.
Then your home becomes a battleground.
Right.
It really does, because every little thing that you ask the child to do is often a battle.
Yes.
So from, hey, can you pick up your socks and put them in the hamper?
Yeah.
Tantrum.
Yeah.
Hey, it's time to brush your teeth. Tantrum. All right, let's take a shower. Tantrum, right?
Gotcha.
So just simple daily living things that you would ask someone to do.
Sure.
Become
mountains.
They become mountains, and it's I call it the daily drip of the battle every single day, because your home it becomes a battleground. You no longer, as a foster parent, you no longer have a safe place to go.
Yeah.
And just relax.
So what are some of the ways that the community supports these foster families?
Well, we have our volunteer teams. So we have our meal train team.
Yeah.
And they just provide a meal. And they can either DoorDash the meal to the family,
Sure.
or they can make something themselves and take it to the family.
Okay.
And it doesn't have to be something extravagant. It can be chicken nuggets and French fries,
Sure.
right? Or spaghetti.
Right.
Just something that's kid-friendly that they would eat. And so they can do that. They can become part of our emergency clothing team that helps and
perfect.
goes get, the clothing for the children. We just have so many volunteer teams. We have events. So every single month, because another thing that foster parents really face is just the feeling of isolation and loneliness.
Right.
Because no one understands what they're going through.
That's true.
No one. And you get lots of good advice of, oh, they just need good discipline, or all of these things, which is not true.
Yeah.
It doesn't work the same.
Correct.
It just doesn't.
Yep.
And so, just having a community event once a month where they can all come together, the kids and the families, and be in like company with other people that are going through the same things.
Normalize that a little bit.
Normalize it. It just means everything to them. And so we have volunteers that will, they'll come and serve food, or they'll come and run games that the kids can play.
That's perfect.
And so it's just,
I love that.
we just, man, our volunteers are the lifeblood of our organization. So we have tons and tons of ways for people to get involved.
So how can a person who's listening to this get a hold of it and become a volunteer in some way?
For sure. They can go on our website.
Okay.
It's sanctuaryfostercare.org.
Yeah.
And there's a button on there that says, I would like to volunteer.
Super.
And so all they have to do is, is press that, put their information in, and then someone will get a hold of them and get them plugged in.
Okay, great. And the other question is, I think I read a little bit about your respite care. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yes. So when your home becomes a battleground, like it does, sometimes you just want to breathe.
Yes.
And you just want to be in your own home where you can take a breath and just relax for a little bit.
Right.
And so that respite care and alternative care is we get other families that will take the children for a weekend, just a weekend, so that the family can just be in their own home. They can relax. A lot of times they can spend times with their friends and their other, family members that they haven't got to see.
Yeah.
And their body can get regulated themselves so that then they are ready to face those battles again when the child returns.
Rejuvenate, restore.
All of those things, yes, just to breathe.
Now, they'll do it for a weekend, but isn't there also smaller time frames where if they need to fit in personal appointments of some importance, of course.
Yeah, and that's our alternative care, so you can watch children up to 8 hours.
Yeah.
And even just help, right?
Yeah.
So if we have a foster parent that has decided to take in a sibling set of 3.
Yeah. Oh, gosh.
Because that happens sometimes.
Yeah.
We actually have one family in the agency that got 9-month-old triplets.
Oh, heavens. That's awesome.
Imagine for a second, 9-month-old triplets, right? In their home and trying to cook dinner with 9-month-old triplets.
Wow.
So someone that could just come in and assist and help to hold babies while they cooked dinner or while they cleaned house or did laundry. Right, anything like that, or would be willing to take the child to the movies, or even help them take the kids to doctor's appointments.
Perfect.
When they all go to doctor's appointments to help, because you can imagine trying to wrangle, 3 9-month-old, kids at a doctor's appointment. So we often need babysitters that will just come in and assist and help.
Are there some common misconceptions about people who foster families and also the children in foster families?
Yes.
That people hold and
right. If I could tell you how many times that I hear, "Oh, you must be a saint." Ask my husband. I guarantee you I'm not a saint. We are definitely not that type of a family.
Right.
We're real people, right? We have the same emotions. We have the same struggles. We have the same things that everybody does.
Yeah.
We just said yes. And we're willing to live in the hard.
Absolutely.
We're willing to step out of our comfort zone, our everyday American life comfort zone.
Yes.
Of going to work, having a peaceful home, all of that, and are saying, what, we're willing to step into that hard.
Yeah.
We're willing to go and sacrifice ourselves for kids that need us.
And create a sanctuary. Absolutely.
Not just for the kids, but for, those families that are in that hard.
If anyone is interested, they have a wonderful YouTube channel with some really heart-touching stories of families that are really coming through the hardest part of these situations. And so it's very heartwarming. And if you are interested, I'd encourage you to go select and follow her, the Sanctuaries podcast, YouTube channel.
And I just want to remind everybody that think about your life that you've lived. Almost everything that was worthwhile was hard in some way.
That is a fact, isn't it? Some of the hardest things, when you push through and come out the other end, that's when the reward is so powerful, right?
It is. I've got 6, that
You
I've adopted.
do.
And so, I've walked that hard with every single one of those children in a different way. And when you're in the middle of it, you're like, I don't know if I could do this one day more.
I know.
I don't know if I could. But man, when you get to the other side and you know that you were used by the Lord in that way to help change the trajectory of a child's life, there is nothing like that in the world.
No, I imagine it isn't.
Nothing.
That's a beautiful, beautiful motivation. And I'm sure you have to recall that, in the midst of the heat of some, crisis, if you will, because there's no family that doesn't have crisis. I mean, even, families that go through normal life are struggling with certain crises at times. And there's no, I guess you could say, perfect family. And
right. And our foster families aren't either.
Exactly. And
they're
so
not.
They're normal.
They're
deal with
normal, everyday families that have, issues in their life, that have issues in their personal life, that they're dealing with. They're just normal people that said yes.
Yes, and it's important to normalize that as well, to realize that, maybe their problems are a little bit bigger. I wouldn't say a little, but are quite a bit larger.
Yeah,
right?
when they start to foster, for
right,
sure.
right. But at the same time, we need to look for the commonalities and not the differences.
Correct.
And that's one of the things I'd like to highlight, is that we have more in common than we realize. And when we start looking for that is when we see it. So it's an important thing to remember as we walk this life together, right?
Definitely, for sure.
Yeah, so let me see here. I think we talked a little bit about how that some people don't always have the means to contribute, but there are smaller ways, maybe the price of a snack, and how can that help families in foster care? If you can't give regularly, or you can't give of your time, or you can't give in other ways, there are small things you can do to support others as they respond to the call to support these families.
Yeah,
can you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, so one of the things a need that we have, a constant need that we have, is for snacks. Because every one of our foster children that comes into therapy, they go into therapy, and then after they leave therapy, they get a snack.
Oh,
they tend to be very hungry after dealing with, emotional things and working through their trauma. And so that's one of the things that we give them. So they enjoy coming to the office. They enjoy going to therapy because there's a treat at the end. They get a snack of some sort that they get to pick out themselves. So just dropping off, a box of chips or a box of crackers or cookies or anything like that by the office is a way to contribute.
Yep.
Right? Where we are not all meant to be foster parents.
No.
That's just the reality. But every single one of us can do something to help these children.
Absolutely. And to that point, I wanted to bring up that we are collecting snacks during this holiday season.
Hey, thank you.
Because, not a lot of people can give everything or give to everyone. So something small is always appreciated, and a box of Oreo cookies or something like that, to the sanctuary would be greatly appreciated. So MaidPro is collecting those. If you'd like to find out how you can reach the sanctuary, you can give it to your pro, and we'll bring it back to the sanctuary for you. So you don't even have to leave home. Just pick it up at the grocery store, leave a note, and we'll take care of it.
Thank you. We're also having a toy drive right now.
Absolutely,
as well.
yes.
So, that's another really easy way.
And where can they drop off the toys?
They can drop it off at either one of our offices. We're right on NASA Parkway.
Exactly.
So there, Ron Carter is also doing, collecting toys for us. And so there's other places in the community that are, but our office is a great place. Either, here in Sugar Land, look us up, and or even small increment gift cards for our teenagers, like $5 to Sonic or McDonald's or anything like that for our teenagers, because
stocking stuffers.
Yes, it allows them to
feel normal.
Feel normal.
Have their own money to spend.
Yes, I cannot tell you how many of the kids that we have that come in that are teenagers that have never shopped for their own clothes.
I know, I can't imagine.
Never. Or that we get that have never eaten at a sit-down restaurant, ever.
Well, I'm really grateful that you can find ways to explain the small ways that others can help, because some people are, I guess you could say, concerned that the challenge is too big.
Yeah.
And the way we I think approach something that large is by making it small, right?
Exactly. In bite-sized pieces.
Exactly.
So that everybody plays a part.
So if you can start out by bringing a snack or a
Yes.
gift card, and then maybe to become a respite carer, you do have to go through certifications, right? There's safety background checks and different training. Can you speak a little bit about that?
Absolutely can, but it's not a full licensure, which is nice.
Okay.
So the difference between respite and alternative care, and I can talk about the difference between the two of those.
Yeah.
So alternative care, you have to get a background check.
Okay.
So all the way to fingerprints to make sure that there's nothing that has happened in the background
Nothing
of the person.
concerning for the
Nothing
safety
concerning
of anyone.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to take some online classes that allows you to give medication if the children need medication,
Gotcha.
or something like that.
Sure.
And then you also have to have CPR and first aid. So if there's a problem or anything like that, you can revive the child. And which, by the way, we've never had any of that. So know that. I know, very true. We've never had to worry about that.
Right.
And so those are the main things that are needed. If you're going to drive the child, then we need a copy of your driver's license and auto insurance on file.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not big to become a babysitter for these kids. And then the only difference between that and respite, you might as well go the extra step, is that we come to your house and we make sure that your house is safe. So that the children can actually come and stay in your house for over 72 hours.
And there would be no issues with that.
Right.
So what is the minimum age of a respite caregiver that, is it something that, for example, when my kids were younger, I would look at the teenagers that were published in my local community magazine, and, they would be CPR certified and that sort of thing. Is anyone under 18 allowed to do that? If there are kids in high school that might be interested in volunteering?
What they could actually do is go over and be a mother's helper.
Oh, there you go.
Remember that when I was talking about that we had kids and diapers and being there to help watch the kids while someone cooks dinner. They could come over into the home and actually help the parents. But to watch them by yourselves, you do actually have to be 18.
Okay, I thought there was an 18-year requirement.
And that is, and then 21 if you're keeping them overnight.
Yeah, gotcha. So do you guys offer the training in-house?
We do.
Oh, so you also offer the CPR?
Absolutely. We offer everything that you'll need at the agency, so a one-stop shop for that.
So I remember last year you had a specific goal for your fundraising for Giving Tuesday. Would you like to share that a little bit?
Sure. So our goal this year is $40,000 is what we're hoping to raise. So last year we raised $30,000. So we're upping the goal this year. We've got another year.
Absolutely.
More a bigger reach, more people learning about us. So we're really hoping to get to $40,000 this year.
I know. I remember seeing the tally as the emails came out. That was really exciting. So thank you very much. This is a call to action. If anyone is listening and interested in finding more, please reach out. It's not that hard. There are lots of small ways and big ways that you can help, specifically in our local community, and all of the help goes right back into our community, which is the best way to help keep it local. And another throw out there to Small Business Saturday. So it's coming up. Please support local. And Amanda, is there any other stories you'd like to share with us specifically at this time of Christmas and giving that maybe touches your heart about a specific family that had a great experience within your organization?
Yeah, so I just want to highlight that especially during this time, during Christmas, sometimes we will get placements of kids on Christmas Eve, on Christmas Day, sometimes a couple of days before Christmas. And so being willing to step in for a family, you can imagine you get a child on a day, a couple of days before Christmas. You've already done all of your shopping.
Yeah.
You've done everything that you needed to do. And here you have a family that has received 2 children.
Yeah.
So just being willing to, to step in and someone we could call to say, hey, we've got, 2 children that have just come into the agency, ages 8 and 4, a boy and a girl, and this is what they'd really like. And then to be able to have people that could go out and get those presents and wrap them and bring them to the home would just mean so much, just to have people on deck that would be willing to do that.
Yeah, that's a great. So you have a call list of prepared for these types of holiday emergencies?
We don't right now.
Yeah.
So I would love for that to occur
sure.
before that time frame. We actually have a lot of families that are in the licensing process right now that will be licensed right before the holidays.
Okay.
And so, the foster homes that we have, we actually are very careful and we screen our families very well before they come in. And so we have really good families.
Yeah.
And so our homes go really fast. Once that they become licensed, they get placed really quickly. Yep. We just had a home that was licensed yesterday and received a child on the same day they were licensed. It's not uncommon for that to occur with our homes. And so our parents don't have a lot of time to prepare for, once they're licensed to when they receive the placement. And so having just people together that, like I said, that could run and do that would be, amazing.
So in your mind, if you have a child that is suddenly, or 2 or 3, just starting with 1 and a foster family, how many people are supporting that unity?
Well,
would you say?
I mean, as far as you're talking about, that we would love to 6.
Yeah.
6 because for several different reasons, right? So you have got, court hearings, you've got court cases, you've got, people that are coming over at different times. You can imagine how many of you guys, I don't know that your house is clean 24/7 all the time, right? And ready for guests.
Because, and I have a cleaning service.
And you have a cleaning. I know my house is not that way.
That's right.
But whenever I was fostering, one thing that someone did one time, we'd gone to court, and then the ad litem attorney, which is the child's attorney, at court said, "Hey, I'll be over at your house in 2 hours."
Oh wow.
We had no warning that they were coming.
Right.
And our house was not in a guest-worthy place, right? To have, especially not just guests, but to have people that we knew were going to look and look at us and possibly judge our home based on how it looked in a critical eye,
right? All with the point of the safety
of the child, for sure. But nonetheless, it's a critical eye.
Absolutely.
And so
you're being judged,
right? For sure. And so there we are at court, and I was able to call someone and say, "Hey, listen, there is a key underneath my mat, in the front. We need to have our house cleaned," because we were still at court. They came right over, and they brought a team of 2 other people, and they cleaned our house for us. Yeah. So then when we got home and the attorney showed up, our house was clean, and it was in good shape. And so there's just a million different ways that foster families need support, and if they can have those 6 people that they can call on at any point in time, it makes such a huge difference.
Now when you are licensing or trying to screen and coach through the process, do you speak to these families about creating that support network and like making their list because they will need it, and encouraging them to build bridges across different pathways so that they can ensure that they have that support? Is that part of or is that something that the sanctuary can bring to the table?
Yeah, we do talk to them about that, but the majority of the families that we license, they are used to being able to handle things on their own.
Gotcha.
They are used to, if there's a blockade in the way, they're used to figuring out how to get over it or around it or in some way, right?
Right.
And so they're not used to asking for help.
Sure.
And so it's something that we talk to them a lot about, that, hey, in this process, you're going to have to get comfortable asking for help and asking your community for help.
And being vulnerable.
But that's hard for people.
It is.
Especially when they feel like they are the ones that chose this.
Yeah.
And so now they're asking for help for something that they chose. And then, they're worried about that critical judgmental eye as well, too, as far as, well, why are you asking for someone to come over and help you clean your house? I don't ask people to come over and help me clean my house.
Right.
Why do you need that? Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And so there's a lot of that there. They have that apprehension. And I mean, I get it because I lived it. I lived that life.
Of course.
And, but I've learned through the years that, hey, you know what? It's okay to ask for help.
Yeah.
And it's okay to get the help that you need.
Yeah, it is. It is. And so that was a lesson you had to learn as you passed through this process.
Yeah, absolutely, it was.
So what advice do you give to those families? Like, it's okay. It's one thing to say it, but and to model it, but how do you encourage them to do it?
Well, we are actually moving towards in the sanctuary. Currently, right now, the support that we offer is voluntary, right?
Oh,
So
yeah.
if they call in and they say, hey, we need help, then we give them the help with the in-home support, the crisis intervention, the community-based care that we, do as far as the wraparound support and all of that.
Yep.
But we've noticed even as an agency, there's a barrier there of people reaching out for help. And so what we're actually moving towards is mandatory support.
Oh, that's great.
That they don't have to ask, that we're going to be there and we're going to tell them, hey, this is how it's going to work. We're going to have a clinician come into your home once a month to check on you emotionally, to see how you're doing if you have a kid in this age range. And so, it's going to be mandatory. It's going to be part of, hey, if you want to be involved in the sanctuary, you're going to get help.
Well, and even moms and dads, they feel like they should put themselves second and the kids first. And so,
but you can't pour from an empty cup.
No, right? Even the airlines know that, just because they make us put our masks on first before you do your baby.
That's right.
So it's the same theory, but it's a really hard lesson to practice, I think. That's what I would say. And, well, Amanda, thank you so much for your time today. It's great.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
And anyone, please, thank you so much for listening to this. You can definitely find out some more insights by contacting the sanctuary. Let's see here. It's 346-553-2825. Is that right?
Yes.
Super. I got that right. And of course, on the web, you can always find all that information out. But we're really grateful for your time today. And thank you so much for all the hard work you do to support our community.
Actually, I think it's 281-508-2205 now that I'm thinking about it.
Oh.
So
did I give you the sanctuary in
I'm not sure.
Oh.
I'm not sure. So
let's get the right one on there.
That's true.
Right?
That's true.
Let's do the right one. Would you tell me what number they should call? 281?
281-508-2205.
Super.
Yes.
Thanks for catching that right.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you so much again, MaidPro League City, Pearland. Have a great holiday.
Thank you.